Hi, today is my pleasure. We have on Jerone Gillespie, aka Black Vito, from YouTube and CNBC Money Millennial fame. Welcome to the show.
Hey, welcome. How's it going?
One of the reasons why I had you on was I really loved the video or the profile that CNBC did on you, because I felt like, to me, what I took away from it was it showed that no matter how much money you make, it's possible for you to save a good percentage. How did you get that set up?
How did I get the CNBC set up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a minute, so my brain is a little foggy on it. But basically, what happened was I saw their videos, and I kept seeing Graham do reaction videos to it. So I was like, I want to be on there because, first off, I just wanted to be a part of something like that. I just never thought it was ever possible to be a part of something like that, well, at least for me. So I was like, I wonder how these people get part of it. And then I saw that there was under their videos, there was like hey, you can audition here. Just give us your story or whatever the case may be. So I saw there was an email. I clicked the email. I sent them an email. No response for a few weeks or something. It felt like a few weeks. It could have been a couple of hours for all I know. And basically, I sent them another email. And after I sent them another email, I waited a little bit longer. And I think I sent them like 3 emails. And then eventually I got a response from them. But I just basically gave them my entire financial story over the course of the last, roughly at that point, it was like the last 3-ish years, 2.5 years. And then I also gave them my story about my financial situation and kind of some of the things I've been through over the course of that last, 2.5 years or so.
Man, yeah. So, I mean, that's dope. So let's start at the beginning. What parts of your childhood impacted your financial outlook now as, someone who's in their early 20s?
That's one thing that it's weird to try to explain to people, because I mean, I've pretty much been frugal all my life. So if you ask any of my family members, they'll say, "Oh, Jerone is stingy with money." That's what they used to say back in the day. They don't really say as much anymore, but they would just say that I'm always really tight with my money. I like to save money ever since I was like 4 or 5. Like, I can't remember a point in time in my life where I wasn't about saving money, but I knew nothing about investing at all. Why was I such a saver? I don't really know. No one else in my family I really know was really like that. I think one thing that it might be, I've been theorizing about what it could be. One of my more, joking theories is that I saw Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob and I was like, hey, I kind of want to be like that guy. But the other potential thing is maybe just seeing my parents, be stressed somewhat about money. I don't want to ever stress about money. And that's what I'm thinking that's what the theory, that's probably my number one theory about why I was frugal at such a young age. I just don't want to be living my life. Every time I think about just, people who are just like, I just got to pay bills. Like, I got to work this job and I got to pay bills. And that's pretty much life is nothing but paying bills. And that just stressed me out just thinking about it. And I think that, and it still does. So for me, I feel like that probably was a big part of my frugality at a young age. But that's, like I said, just a theory.
Did you go to college after high school?
Yeah, I did. I went to college. I discussed it in the Millennial Money video. I think that some people perhaps didn't really understand what I was saying. I'm not very good at explaining things, perhaps, but I was basically saying how I went to college, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do with college, because throughout most of my high school years, basically in middle school, I got diagnosed with a heart condition, like I mentioned in the Millennial Money video. And basically, long story short, the doctor said that at any moment I could vomit, pass out, and die if I'm doing too much vigorous exercise, or even some situations if I'm not doing too much vigorous exercise. It could just happen. So for me, all throughout high school, I just figured that I wouldn't make it out. I just figured I'd probably be dead by then, so I won't have to really think about college or anything. So by the time I got to my senior year, it was like a oh crap moment. Like I just didn't know what I was going to do next. And I just saw everyone else going to college. It seemed like a logical next step, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I went to college, kind of not knowing what I wanted to do. But the main problem with me is kind of like the opposite of what a lot of people have. For me, I had so many interests. I was interested in business and money related things, obviously, but also a lot of people don't know because I focus so much on money, but I was also focused on science related things as well. I was really interested in science, biology, physics, chemistry. Those are the main three. And then also I'm interested in language. At one point I was able to speak 4 languages at, conversationally. I wasn't like, the best in the world at all 4 of them, but that's also including English for the record. But so basically like 3 foreign languages, one English is being one of them. And my point in saying that is basically I had so many different interests. It was hard to try to figure out one major to choose. And I was bouncing around all over the place and that didn't help at all. Eventually I decided to leave.
So let's go back to the diagnosis about your heart and junior high. I think it was or early high school, junior high. How did that impact how you view life? Because I know that if someone told me at any time that, like, look, you may not be long for this world, you can just die from just living your normal life, that may impact my ability to, like, one way or the other. Maybe it makes me like go harder for the time I do have, or it could defeat some people. So how did that impact you?
For me, it's hard because I mean it. Not only did I go through cycles, almost like phases, not just phases, but cycles. I would be maybe sometimes I'd be motivated, but then sometimes it would overcome me, and I would feel just like overcame by it. You know what I'm saying? So I really went through cycles. Like when I first got the diagnosis, I always remember this moment of me sitting in like this big jacket, just sitting on the couch and just feeling like crap because I mean, I felt like I was all supposed to be playing like football that year. I wasn't able to play football, which actually ended up being a good thing because I got into MMA. But it was still one of those things where I just like I had these plans for my life and I couldn't do it. And then eventually I found out that my brother had it and that he had to quit football. So it was almost like a weird thing. Like, I was hoping that I had it, but I was hoping at least if I have it, hopefully he doesn't have it as well. And that was kind of my mindset. Then I figured out he had it too, but I think that I might have it more pronounced or whatever the case may be. But yeah, so that was how it was in the beginning. But eventually, after that little, I guess, beginning period when I first kind of got it, I kind of decided that I'm just going to live my life. And I was still saving money. So me saving money has never been about, oh, well, 30, 40, 50 years down the line. Because I figured, I might not ever make it 40 or 50 years down the line. But that never stopped me from saving money or wanting to save money, at least, because I was just like, I think there's benefits right now to saving money, whether or not you live to see the benefits of it 50 years from now is a whole nother story. I mean, there's benefits for that as well. But so for me, I think that it made me think. It didn't make me think about the future enough. That was probably one of the most financial impacts or my life impacts. It didn't make me. I wasn't thinking too far enough in the future. Like, I mean, I might think a year in the future, which is still long relative to a lot of younger folks, or a year or 2 years. But I wouldn't be thinking that deep into the future. Not because I was just figured, oh, well, I'm so young and I have so much time. No, it wasn't like that. I figured that I'm so young and I don't have a lot of time. So, my brother seemed like it motivated him to just go after different things. But for me, it motivated me sometimes, and other days it put me down.
Right. Now, is that something that's resolved, or do you still have the same issue?
No, nowadays, I'm happy. I am literally the happiest person because not the happiest person, probably not, but I am happy because I had that experience. I am happy that at a young age I was diagnosed with this or at least introduced to the idea that, you know what, you could die at any moment, and that's just it. Because a lot of younger folks don't, and I mean, I guess for some people it's not a good thing, but for me, it was a good thing because it let me think about like my life. Like there is an end to this. And now, given that there is an end to this, I need to behave as if there is an end to this. I need to work as if there is an end to. So it let me lead my life or live my life in a manner in which realizes that there's an end. So I say, you know, people say, well, you know, you could stop doing, instead of doing Uber and Lyft, and so instead of spending all this time on YouTube where you're not making all this whole goo gobs of money, why don't you go try to do this other thing that makes a whole lot of money? And for me, I feel like, well, because there's an end to this, I would much rather try to live my life, live my dreams. Of course, I'm still about money. I'm not going to even lie about that. I'm still about money. I'm still about stacking money as much as possible. But also I'm about living a life that my present self and my future self will be happy that I lived. And for me, I feel like the one thing that I can do is actually chase some of my dreams, because at the end of the day, we all, you know, we're all going to die. And I feel like learning that at a young age, it allows me to live a life that is better at looking at my goals, looking at how I want to live my life. A lot of people just go through life on autopilot. You know what I'm saying? That's, I guess, where I'm at. And for me,
Right.
I don't go through life on autopilot. Every single day since I've gotten that diagnosis, I literally thought about death every single day. And now more lately, I've even started thinking about almost every single day about my death, my family members' deaths. Like, so a lot of people, that sounds depressing, but for me, it's actually not depressing. It's one of those things that it reminds you to appreciate life. That's one of the big things. It taught me to appreciate my life and the life of the family members I'm around. People don't make time for their family members. People don't make time for their friends. And even some of my friends and family members, I feel like probably wouldn't make as much time for me in circumstances where, you know, they got to get some work done, but I'm around, you know, they might not what they're doing to hang out with me or something like that. And they might, I don't know. But for me, I always try to make time. Like there's been times where I had stuff to do and I would just stop doing it because I was like, you know what? Forget about posting a video. I want to spend time with my family.
Right. Right. So, one of the other things that wasn't clear from the CNBC profile is that it said that you stopped going to college as a fifth year senior. And I guess my question was, how many more units did you need to obtain your bachelor's?
Yeah, that's a complex thing. When they were talking about the college thing, they kind of cut out some of the things that I said, and I understand that because um, I'm not the best speaker in the world. So they did a really, really good job in making me look a lot less of an idiot than I actually made myself look like it, because I was extremely nervous and excited, really more excited than nervous, I would say, but probably a little bit of nervous as well. Two sides of the same coin, really. But
Right.
basically, how can I put this? They cut out a part because they said that, you know, I went from being undecided to Spanish. That's what they made it seem like in the video.
Right.
But really, I went from being undecided to going to Costa Rica and studying business in Costa Rica for a semester. And then I was thinking, trying to decide whether or not I wanted to be a business major or what I wanted to be. And then after I went to Costa Rica, I decided I was going to be a science major. I was doing science, but then I realized I was stacking up a lot of debt, and the time in which it would take me to graduate would be substantial. And I would probably need to get a master's degree, which would be more debt, because a lot of the people who get a science degree pretty much go on to get a master's degree, because it's a really competitive market when it comes down to science degrees, and especially like biology degrees. So for me, I was going to try to study like molecular biology, because I was really interested in not just like animals per se. I love animals, especially as a little kid, but I wanted to look at more like molecular biology and microbiology and stuff like that. But after I figured out that it would take me very, very long to graduate and thousands of dollars of debt, I figured, what is the fastest way for me to get a degree? And I'm kind of shortening the story here just to,
Right.
But after I decided that the Spanish degree probably wouldn't work, I was thinking about business, but then business required you, for some reason, to learn calculus in order to do that, which is part of the problem with the science degree was the math. Math has always been a big problem for me. But for me, I felt like I didn't understand why you would need calculus in order to get into a business degree. So it would be hard for me getting a business degree, and also it would have also took a fairly long time to get the degree in business. So then the fastest thing that I could do is get a Spanish degree. And that is the part where they just kind of hopped to in the video, where they said I chose to do Spanish. The reason why I chose to do Spanish is because I only had I don't know, I think maybe, I can't remember for the life of me. I'm trying to just expel that from my mind, honestly. Yeah. But it had to be maybe like 2 semesters left. Maybe, I don't think it was 2. I think it was probably like 2 years worth of classes left for the Spanish degree. Two or like 1.5 or somewhere thereabouts, between 1 and 2. Let's put it that way. And for me, I was taking the Spanish classes, and it was just, first off, they weren't even teaching Spanish. They were teaching like some old. It was basically like the equivalent of Old English, but the Spanish version of Old English. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then I was just like,
vosotros, that type of things.
Well, even vosotros, they still use that in Spain. So I mean, that would be okay with me. But they were teaching like basically, like, if you look at Portuguese, because Portuguese is one of the languages I used to be able to speak, and they were basically speaking a language or teaching a language that where Portuguese and Spanish were still a little bit closer together as far as in the language family tree. So for me, I was just like, I'm not even learning Spanish at this point. I'm going to learn all of this, and then I'm going to go try to have a conversation with a Spanish person. And I mean, I already knew Spanish at that point, so I wasn't really that concerned by it. But I mean, like, I get to be spending the same exact time doing something extremely more productive. And at that point in time, when I was in college, I was going door to door, and at that point, I was making pretty good money with that. And I was doing Uber and Lyft. And so between those two things, I was making not bad money. Eventually, I stopped doing door to door because for reasons, and I mean, I can get into that. But I stopped doing.
Wait, sorry to cut you off. Let me. I want to change the focus a bit, but before I do, I went to your Spanish YouTube page, and your Spanish is impressive. Like, you speak really well, and so I watched a couple of those videos. Like, I lived in Medellin, Colombia for a couple of months, and I went to school down there as an adult.
That's cool.
After I graduated from law school to try to learn Spanish. And man, like, I wish I spoke as well as you did. Your Spanish is impressive. And I just wanted to compliment you on that before
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We move on. So at what point did you buy your first stock or ETF or index fund, or not index fund, or mutual fund?
My first, I can tell you the exact date, November 6th, 2017 is when I started investing. So yeah.
What made you start? What made you want to get into investing?
Well, that's one of the things. When I was going up to school, I was going to a school out in Western Maryland called Frostburg. I switched over to Towson because it was my brother went to that school, and my girlfriend at that point in time went to that school. And basically, when I went to that school, you know, I was kind of just doing my own thing, and I ran into the library there. And well, I mean, actually, no, there was a book, a Spanish book, actually, in the school there. I mean, in the Walmart there. And then that Walmart book said, it said in Spanish, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it kept saying, and it said basically in Spanish, it was said, what the rich teach their kids, but the poor don't. And I read the title, and I was like, oh, that seems like a scammy type of book. It seems terrible. I mean, I was like, but I kept seeing the book, and it piqued my interest. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to read it. And I had a job at that point in time. This was before I started doing the door-to-door stuff. I was working at like a call center, and I would just basically sit there and do nothing all day. So I would start reading that book. I was literally getting paid to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And then I was reading that book. And after I finished reading the book, I was like, my mind just opened up to a whole new world, because I was always, like I said before, about saving money, but I didn't understand anything about real personal finance, real wealth building. I thought wealth building was having a bank vault full of cash. You know what I'm saying? I never knew anything about investing or
Right.
anything like that. So that really opened my interest. And then going back to the college thing at the library that I was getting at, I was, after I transferred colleges, there was literally like, it was almost like meant to be. There was a whole bunch of finance books at the front of the library, just right there, almost as if, all right, here's one book for you, and now here's all of these other books for you to read. And I started reading a whole bunch of books. Like I can read, it was a book on behavioral finance. There was another book on called Uncommon Stocks. Common Stocks, Uncommon Profits. And that book, I was like, hey, I want Uncommon Profits. So I got that book. And there was other books that You Could Be a Stock Market Genius. That was one that, and these three books that I just mentioned there, really, really was the foundation of how I started thinking about stock investing in general. And then also I read some books about retirement, which was cool. And I just fell in love with finance. And that's what started making me create a YouTube channel, because I kept talking about money. And also I read books about cryptocurrency a little bit. So I just started talking about money and investing and cryptocurrency all the time. And at that point in time, I was a lot more into crypto than I am now. But I was like really into it, and everyone wanted me to shut up about it. Even cryptocurrency. Now everyone's talking about it, but back then I was talking about it. Everybody wanted me to shut up. And I created a YouTube channel for that, because I was just like, no one wants to talk to me about these things. And I just want to talk.
Did you create your YouTube channel before you start watching content creators in the financial space on YouTube?
It's hard to really say, because I started, let's see, I doubt it, because I think I started it because I started making YouTube videos. I dropped my first video December 10th, 2017. And like I said, I started investing November 6th, 2017. So there was a delay there. And I know I started watching some of Jeremy, from the Financial Education channel. I started watching some of his videos to learn some of the basics of stock investing. But for me, I've always wanted to create a YouTube channel, not necessarily about finance. I just wanted to create a YouTube channel just about pretty much anything. And some of my earlier videos weren't just about finance. I was talking about all types of different things. I talked about my relationship a little bit there. I mean, in the beginning, I just wanted to create a YouTube channel, but I just started gearing towards finance because that's what I like talking about the most. And also I felt like I needed to niche down because I was all over the place, and it's kind of hard to grow on YouTube when the subscribers don't know what they're coming to see.
Right. What do you talk about finance with your friends and family a lot currently?
Sometimes I try not to talk about it too much because, no one wants unsolicited financial advice. I'm starting to find that, so I would say that if they talk to me about it, I would talk about it. And sometimes I just talk about it just because I might just slip up and say something related to money. But I generally speaking, when I'm around people, I try not to talk too much about money or financial topics because it's just most people don't like to talk about it. And, it's probably better to talk about other people's interests more than your own, which for me is probably easier said than done.
Right. That makes sense. As someone that's still relatively young, how do you balance your need, if you have a need, of like going out with your buddies, having fun, which usually entails spending money, versus being the financially prudent or frugal person that you've grown into be at this point?
I'm glad you asked that because I mean, other than like spending what you want to call, and some people say it sounds corny, or whatever, but instead of spending quality time with my friends that I'm really close with, the friends that are like family members, I'm saying, and also my actual family members, the family members that actually want to be around. I'm sure there's some family members that probably don't want to be around, but that is what I consider to be fun. Now, if they want to go out and party and I want to spend time with them, then maybe I'll go do that. But for the most part, that is, I guess, my quality time. But for me, saving money, investing money, building wealth, YouTube is fun. Reading, like for example, I mean, I have a whole stack of annual reports right underneath me, just like actual, financial reports from companies and all that. And for me, I almost feel guilty when I sit down and read that because I feel like I should be out working. Some people will consider reading a financial report working. For me, I consider it to be fun, and I need to do something instead of doing that. So for me, my fun is, I don't know, researching stocks. And I do a large percentage of my portfolio index funds, but it's still fun to research stocks and try to be as intelligent about my investment strategy as possible, and be prudent, obviously, with my investment strategy, but also try to get fairly good returns, which is the point of buying individual companies. But like I said, I do a lot of indexing. And that is my fun. So for the most part, I might spend a little bit of money on like movies, but that's pretty much it. My guilty pleasure is probably movies and food, not parties. I don't even find parties fun, honestly.
Right.
I don't get enjoyment out of them.
So what, like looking back at the video, I think you saved 40% of your income that year.
Mm-hmm.
What skill do you think that if you can tell someone, another young person or an older person who made similar income, what skill would you tell them that they need to be able to save that such a large chunk of their income?
For most people, I would say it's a psychological thing. You know what I'm saying? It's really just a matter of obviously building good habits, because I think habits are probably extremely important, more important than what people realize. I mean, I feel like more people would be significantly more successful in life if they had better habits, not just when it relates to money. I'm talking about any of their goals: exercise, eating healthier, whatever the case may be. So creating good habits, but that's a little bit vague, and it's supposed to be. But I think the most important thing is just building self-discipline overall in every aspect of their life. That is the number one thing when it comes down to saving money. If you have self-discipline and you decide, you know what, I don't want to spend money, I want to start saving X amount of dollars per month, per year, whatever the case may be, then you will do that because you have the self-discipline to do that. You focus on your self-discipline. When it comes down to a lot of people, focusing on these, saving tactics and, all of these other things, that I guess that's somewhat important, but none of it's going to matter if you don't have any self-discipline. Like, for example, you can teach someone all of the importance of eating healthy, how to eat healthy, a good regimen, how to stay on track with eating healthy. But when it comes down to it, you just have to learn self-discipline in every area of your life. And I think that that's what most people need. Now, when it comes down to me with money, I must admit, I am not, it may sound contradictory, but I'm not self-disciplined when it comes down to money. I literally just, typically speaking, I spent a lot of money this month, honestly. I made a video about that recently. But
I saw that on your IG.
For the most part, though, I don't like spending. Well, I don't like spending money. Even the things that I spent money on, like I literally was, I don't know, hurt by having to spend that or wanting to spend that money. But everything I purchased there, I purchased after many, many months of wanting it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because that's just how bad I don't like spending money. It took me, for some of those items, it probably took me like 5 to 6 months to buy after, wanting it for that long. So for me, I personally, and a lot of people like me, it doesn't really require self-discipline because it doesn't require self-discipline to do something that you don't want to do, or to avoid doing something that you don't want to do. It doesn't require self-discipline. You know what I'm saying? That's like saying, does it require self-discipline to sit down and I don't know, eat tasty food all day, every single day? It doesn't require any self-discipline to do that because it's something that people like to do.
Right. That makes sense. Before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you, do you have like a target goal in terms of how much you want to be invested? Like for instance, like do you adhere to the 4% rule, which states that you can withdraw approximately 4% of money invested in a broad-based index fund, and you probably won't run out of the principal investment over time based upon his historical results?
Yeah, well, I think that the math that went into that equation is probably more academic rigor than I've put into the thought of it. But for me, I would say my goal was probably more ambitious to some degree. I would say, I don't know, that sounds weird. I don't want to say that. My goal is to have enough passive income from my investment. So I don't want to take out any of the principal or any of the capital gain from my investment. I want the capital gain and the principal to be left alone. And whatever investment I have, whether it be real estate or stock dividends, I want that to be enough to cover the lifestyle I live. And I think that would require probably more than, that I would be a bigger portfolio than the 4% rule would require. You know what I'm saying? The 4% rule would probably require a much smaller portfolio in order to live that type of lifestyle, unless you have something like a real estate property that is cash flowing pretty well. But
Right.
for me, my goal is to have enough passive income and then allow the capital gains to be there. And I don't really want to be living a lavish lifestyle. I think that I could probably live off of $4,000 to $5,000 a month of passive income. That's probably much less than that, quite frankly. And I could live a very quality lifestyle, obviously adjusted for inflation over time.
Right. One of the things I do love about your channel is, and one of the videos I first saw after I saw Graham's video, because that's how I really watched your CNBC video, was that you broke down your portfolio, and I think at the time it might have been 50,000 approximately.
Yeah.
But I just love the transparency and honesty, because like you're not a millionaire, and that's okay. Everybody's got to start from somewhere, and just seeing you break that down, like I appreciated that vulnerability, and that's why I really rock with your channel. And I was like, that's why I wanted to have you on, because like your channel has like good content for everyday people, because sometimes you can be watching financial YouTubers like Meet Kevin or Graham, and I watch both of their channels, and it's like Meet Kevin could be buying $20 not $20 20,000 option calls or option puts like it's nothing, and he's laughing about it, and it's like, but that's not most of us reality, my reality included. So it's like seeing someone like you track your journey, it's a lot more in line with even my journey, because it's like I don't have millions like Kevin does. I think Kevin has like 7 million or something like that, whatever Kevin has. So but I appreciate your content, and I think that the YouTube space, particularly seeing another brother doing it, it's like we need that in the community. And I think what you're doing and what you're adding to YouTube is tremendous. And I just want to thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That was very, very kind. Kindness. That was very kind. I appreciate that a lot. For me, I think that's one thing that I started to realize, because I had a guy I was doing Uber and Lyft. I told him about my YouTube channel, and then he was like, "Well, why should I learn anything from you?" I mean, like basically saying like, what do you have? You're broke. You're an Uber driver, whatever. And that question came off as a little rude at first, but he made me literally think about that. And I kind of wanted to start taking the channel to that direction where I'm like, all right, yes, I am, relatively poor. A lot of these other big YouTubers and stuff like that. But hopefully I can show you that even with a low income, or even once my income increases, because I'm not trying to be low income forever. I don't want that to become my brand, the low income guy. But you know, I want to show that even with a low income, you could do a lot more than what a lot of people think. And I know that a lot of people can do a lot more than what they think. And some people, quite frankly, don't like to hear that. They want to hear that, you know, it's not your fault and there's nothing that you can do because it's completely outside of your hands. And I want to tell people that you can do more. And once you do more, you feel a lot more empowered. You feel like you have control over your destiny. And I think that's important.
Right. And I just want to clear it up. Like, you're not poor. I think it's like 65 to 70% of all Americans don't even have $1,000 saved. So the fact that you have the money that you have invested in the market, the fact that you have $10,000 saved for your rainy day or your opportunity fund, um, there's whole adults that are 40, 50, 60 years old that don't have and haven't amassed the amount of money that you have. And so, um, you know, don't allow this YouTube bubble to make you confused, because sometimes I see in the comments like, no, like, you may have a lower income, but you have more wealth than most Americans. And that's a fact. And when you get outside of America and when you consider your wealth on a global, I mean, you can live like a king in Costa Rica, for instance. So,
Bro.
yeah, so that's where I'm like, I think that what you're doing is great. And since you're starting at such a young age, it's only gonna increase over time, and your money is gonna be compounding. Your YouTube videos are gonna be compounding, because I see you working and you putting out content. And I think it's like really good content. One thing I want to say before we go, I don't want to keep you too long, is we need you to get on the iced coffee hour, because I think that, again, like, I love Graham and I love the guys he has on his show, but I think that people hearing your journey on their platform for an hour or two, like, I think that you can add a lot of content, and it's like, you know, you're like living it. Like, you're not so far removed. You're like living it, and people can be like, you know what, I'm making this amount of money. If he's able to do it, I could do it too. You know, and so that's why hopefully Graham watches this video. But I mean, I think you need to be on the iced coffee hour, fly out there to Vegas, and, you know, make that happen.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. And I mean, I would like to be on there maybe one day. There's two things I want to say about that real quick. Is that first thing, well, that's one of the things that really, really surprised me with the Millennial Money video, is a lot of people were saying that it was inspirational. And I'm not even just saying this just to be fake humble or whatever, but I literally thought that people were just going to pretty much criticize me. And on World Chart Hip Hop, they did. Someone posted it there, and most of the people were criticizing me. I was like, that's what I expected out of people. But when people were saying it was inspiring, I didn't even know what to really do with that, because I was just like, I was expecting the vast majority of people to criticize me. But when it was mostly positive, I didn't know what, my brain didn't really know how to deal with that. I was like, I don't know. But as far as the iced coffee hour, I think that I've talked to Graham a little bit about that, and he doesn't seem interested. So I don't think that I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But I mean, I'm just going to keep grinding, and hopefully, I mean, I feel like my philosophy is, if I keep grinding, eventually I'll be undeniable to all of these guys' podcasts. What is it? Your Leisure. What is it? Earn Your Leisure, and that their little
Yeah, I mean,
podcasts.
yeah,
All of
I
these
mean, and
people.
they got great. And see, the thing is like, I mean, Earn Your Leisure's got great they got great, it's entertaining, but I don't think the content is the content. And I don't think that their content, for instance, is better than yours. It's just that they have a much larger platform, um, you know, than you, and you know, they've been on the Breakfast Club and all that. So I think that, you know, over time, you know, the light's gonna come see you, and, you know, it'll blow up, and then, you know, you're gonna be exposed to different platforms, and then everybody that's been there through day one is gonna, you know, see the journey, because it's like there you keep producing videos, and I think you produce really good content. And so I just want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Like I was
Thank
like,
you. I appreciate
when
you.
when I started interviewing, I was like, you know what? I had a list of a couple people, and I was like, you know what? I want to interview Black Vito because like I like loved that video. I like loved that CNBC video, and I thought that I don't have the guts to expose my income and my portfolio to the world, and I really like admire the guts that you have to put that out there. And I think that you went. I think you have 14,000 subscribers now, so like your channel's
Yeah.
growing.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't even know what to say. I don't think of myself. I think of myself as just as a terrible YouTuber, a lot of work to do. My brother says I'm too hard on myself, and my friend does too. But for me, it's hard. I've never been good at taking compliments. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For me, I've always looked at myself as like, you need to do better, and you're not doing good enough. And right now, and so, but I definitely appreciate that. I'm gonna try to continue. I'm gonna try to work harder than I am now. And yeah, I'm happy. I don't know what to say, but yeah,
Right.
appreciate
Right. Right. I appreciate you. I'm gonna link all your details in the channel. I think you got like 5 or 6 different YouTube channels. I'm gonna put them all in there. I'm gonna link people to your
I have 3
IG.
main ones. 3, just the Spanish one, the Unfiltered one, where that's just going to be like my fun channel, whatever I want to do there. But the main 2 is the probably going to be the money channel, Black Vito Moneyology, and then probably the Spanish channel. I got to work on my Spanish a little bit in order to so I can speak about finance a little bit better. I mean, speaking about finance in Spanish is so hard. The editing makes it look a little bit better, but before editing, it's not pretty.
I can imagine. So, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm gonna keep connected with you on social media, and hopefully, I can have you back again.
All right, sounds good. I'll be happy to be back.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right.